Hello, hello, everyone. It's me, Tali from the AstroTwins. And, we've probably been reading all the headlines about the full moon that's coming up this Sunday, January 20th, going into Monday, January 21st. That's not only a super full moon, but a blood moon, a full wolf moon, lunar eclipse. So it's a super full moon, blood wolf full moon lunar eclipse. Oh my God, there's so many different ways to say it. It's a mouthful. So I figured it would be good to jump on here and tell you what all these different names really mean and what you can expect astrologically from this event, because it really is a big deal. It's not just the name that is, giving it so much oomph to it. This is actually a really important date to clock on the calendar for you stargazers, both astronomically and astrologically. So this full moon, this is a total lunar eclipse. And why it's called a blood moon is because of the effect that happens. So during an eclipse, a lunar eclipse, which always happens during a full moon, a solar eclipse happens with a new moon, but during a lunar eclipse, the Earth is exactly centered between the sun and the full moon. So the sun is behind the Earth, if you will, casting a shadow of the Earth onto the moon. And now this only happens during eclipses when the full moon lands in this very specific place, the ecliptic. And so from 10:48 p.m. Eastern time until 10:38 p.m. Eastern time, until 3:49 a.m. Eastern time on January 20th into the 21st, you'll be able to watch, if you're in Western Europe or North America, you'll be able to watch this reddish, blood red shadow drift across the moon, and that's the Earth's shadow, which is very rare. We don't get to see that all the time. It's anytime there's an eclipse, some part of the world will have that view, but it's been a while since we've had a good total eclipse blood moon here in the United States. So I'll be staying up late to watch it. Thankfully, I'm on the West Coast, so it'll start at like 7:38. I should have that exact time. I'll get it for you guys before we finish this. But suffice it to say, it's about a 6+ hour window. So you can step out and see it and at different times. Now, a super moon, that's been the buzzword for the last couple years. What's a super moon? There's a myth out there that the moon looks bigger and brighter during a super moon. That's not actually true. However, the moon's orbit around the Earth is elliptical shaped, kind of egg shaped. So imagine an egg, kind of on its side. So there'll be like the long end points, and then there'll be those shorter points. So this full moon is it's at the shortest point, the shortest distance between the moon and the Earth. So, it's called a super moon because of its proximity. It's the closest this full moon could actually be to the Earth in that orbit. Now, no, it isn't visible, but those of us who are into astrology know that we're not necessarily looking at the visible realm. We're looking at the invisible realm. So, we can feel the impact stronger than ever. I think during a supermoon, you may find that you're more emotionally charged, you're more keyed up, you're more sensitive to the vibe of the moon. And I'll talk more about what we can expect from this Leo moon. Now, the wolf moon is the indigenous name for it. So the indigenous peoples of North America, would listen to the wolves howl when they named all the moons. And so, during this cold, frosty time of year, the January full moon is always the wolf moon. Okay, so that's how it got this mouthful of a name. Now let's talk about the astrological part of it, because I know someone says I'm an Aquarius and I'm worried. Hi, Trisha. Don't be worried, Trisha. Don't be worried, everyone. But But do know that there may be some unexpected things. So when you think about an eclipse, right, what's happening during an eclipse? A shadow is becoming visible, right? So in this case, we'll see the shadow of the Earth on the moon. During a solar eclipse, you can see the shadow of the moon crossing the sun. But metaphorically, yes, shadows are often revealed during an eclipse. Things that we don't want to look at, things that we didn't realize were there, things that we haven't wanted to deal with, and really some pleasant surprises too. You might discover that, you know, somebody that you've had feelings for reciprocates them, or someone you didn't even know had feelings for you could, you know, step out and say, hey, by the way, I've got this thing for you, you know, or a hidden opportunity may reveal itself, something that's kind of been right in front of your face. You may be overlooking the obvious, and this eclipse will reveal it to you. So one of the things that's interesting about eclipses astrologically and astronomically, they always arrive in pairs of opposite signs, right? So, and they hit these areas of the sky associated with those two zodiac signs for about 2 years, a 2-year period. So the opposite sign of Leo is Aquarius. So we've been having these eclipses on the Leo-Aquarius axis since the first one, which was February 10th of 2017. And so what happens is during those times, like the issues associated with those two very polarized and paradoxical energies of these opposite signs start to get triggered. And all of a sudden we kind of have to listen, you know, like pay attention to that push-pull. So the eclipse, this Leo lunar eclipse, super blood wolf lunar eclipse in Leo begins on late night on Sunday, January 20th, and lasts into the wee hours of the morning on Monday, January 21st, okay? So let's talk a little bit more about that push-pull energy of the Aquarius-Leo axis, okay? Two very different energies. Now, Leo and Aquarius are both fixed signs. So even though when you hear Leo or, you know, oh, they're so showy and flashy, or those Aquarians are so crazy and weird and eccentric, they still have this very stabilizing energy. They're kind of like these ring masters. You know, anyone who knows a Leo or an Aquarius knows that they can take a wild and crazy plan and actually pull it off. And you're probably like, what? How did you even do that? You know, you just, after a while, you start to trust them when they come to you with those like out there ideas. And you're like, okay, you know what? You know, you've got this. Okay. So, you know, so we've seen this playing out in so many ways. Interestingly, you know, Leo rules, you know, the royalty, the elite class, the VIPs, you know, Hollywood, the red carpet. Whereas Aquarius is very power to the people, one love. You know, Bob Marley was an Aquarius, Janis Joplin. You know, Aquarius is very like inclusive and hippie-ish or mad scientist, very unusual. Whereas Leo, on the other hand, is exclusive. You know, maybe I'll let down my castle moat for you. We'll just have to see about that. So we've seen that happening in the world. You know, interestingly, this eclipse series began shortly after the inauguration of Donald Trump. So for us here in the United States, I mean, it was like 2 weeks after the Women's March. And interestingly enough, this last eclipse is happening on the third anniversary, actually. It's a 3rd year since, but 2 years since, 2 years since the Women's March of January 21st, 2017. So just a couple weeks after that was this first Leo eclipse. And then we had every 6 months after that, Aquarius and Leo eclipses. So this one on January 21st, 2019 is the final Leo full moon lunar eclipse in the series. We won't have eclipses in these signs again for another 8 years. So what happens with eclipses is the first one is the worst one. They really hit you hard. They churn everything up. And like, it's basically like they kind of drop a bomb on us. It's like, you are going to deal with this shit, okay? And then it takes 2 years to kind of sort it all out. So, here we are, we're seeing billionaires getting richer. There's a growing divide between the haves and the have-nots economically in the world. These sort of, in some areas of the world, including this one, some, very, Leo-like, rich kid figures, very elite, getting pumped up and getting all this power. But similarly, on the Aquarius end of things, there's been a rise in both populism, nationalism, and activism. So we have, and in an interesting way too, like Leo rules the arts and theater, and we've kind of been tracking the news through Saturday Night Live in some ways, and the Aquarius domain, which is, Instagram and Twitter, all these leaders, which is Leo, have been using this very Aquarian platform of Twitter, instead of, sidestepping traditional media and getting their message out directly, unfiltered, and it's gone unchecked, so it's so interesting. On a personal level, Leo is kind of all about drama and romance and passion and our fashionable statements we like to make. And Aquarius is much more, it's also, Aquarius is about your unique style and putting some political statement in everything that you do. So, I feel like high heels and girly fashion has really taken, a nosedive in a lot of places over the last couple of years. And that Aquarian influence is like, well, think about why you're wearing what you're wearing. Ethically sourced fashion is becoming more popular. There are places like H&M. I saw J. Crew, I think, as well, where you can recycle your old denim. The fashion industry is actually, the production of fashion is behind, one of the, major climate change perpetrators, because there's just so much waste being spilled out from the dyes and the factories. So really just thinking. At the same time, people are able to use YouTube and Amazon. They've become, which are sort of very Aquarian in their own way, because, anything digital or a online business is associated. So is associated with Aquarius. So it's actually allowed people to, become celebrities in that Leo way without having to even go to Hollywood. So here we are getting pulled in all these interesting directions, right? So, maybe for anyone who's listening over the last couple years, you've had some real dramatic rifts or waves or political awakenings. Maybe some of your creative projects were born out of your very Aquarian ideals, and you've been putting yourself out into the world in new ways. Or maybe you were somebody who was always committed to being different and an individual, and you realized that, maybe you should find a place where you should find your people, find your tribe, either online or, moving to a new area where people are more supportive of the way you want to live your life. So this eclipse here is the last one. So it's wrapping up some of those narratives that have been dogging us for the last couple years. Some of those dramas that have been kind of unraveling. The new eclipse series that's already starting to weave its way in is sort of a bit gentler, I think. It's in Capricorn and Cancer. We already had two of them. Last July 13th, we had the first Cancer solar eclipse. And this January 5th, we had the first Capricorn solar eclipse. So Cancer is this nurturing, it's the woman power, like maternal, feminine energy, where Capricorn is that, you know, big daddy, corporations, our career goals. Not that that should be associated with the masculine, but this is how astrology has been archetyped. So we're really finding it's actually an interesting time where, you know, as I mentioned, the Women's March I feel like the Women's March was like it was in the energy, the first Women's March of 2017. It was in the energy wave of this eclipse. I kind of counted, even though it happened a couple weeks before the first eclipse, it was part of this series, you know, in so many ways, because it spurred so much activism. I mean, we also had the Me Too movement happening. Time's Up. You know, people just getting vocal about the thing, you know, and not putting up with, you know, or just not silently sitting by. Maybe things haven't changed. And yes, these issues were there all along, you know, but that wokeness has, I think, definitely been part of this whole eclipse series. Now, as Cancer and Capricorn come in, we're looking at gender dynamics, you know, women stepping into more power on the world stage, whereas men may be connecting to, you know, their divine feminine within. We all have both that yin and yang energy, you know, whether we're allowed in our culture to express them or not. Some people express both equally, you know, so gender rebalancing and even like, you know, being more conscientious about our creativity, the projects. Leo loves to make stuff and produce stuff, and, you know, Aquarius kind of too, you know, but that factory made, or even just some of our toxic art supplies, if you will, you know, they have an impact on the world. And we're kind of shifting into that more caring, nurturing energy now. So what does this mean for your sign? We're going to get into that in a minute. I also think it's so interesting that this last eclipse dovetails with MLK Day, which is on Monday, January 21st. So, you know, who better than Martin Luther King Jr. to exemplify the best possible merging of Leo and Aquarius? Someone who is able to unite groups of people for a really important social justice cause, you know, that we still have a lot of work to do on. But under that very Leo heart-centered, you know, focus of love. I think, you know, one of his quotes was along the lines of like, I'm choosing love because hate is too great of a burden to bear, you know? And so while this Leo Aquarius energy may have given us lots of reasons to be angry and outraged and incensed, you know, I've spent many a night shouting at the, you know, evening news or along with it, or like, oh my God, how can they do that? You know, and here we are, you know, in the United States, we have a government shutdown happening right now, the longest one. And, you know, people not getting paid, national borders being unsafe because of workers, you know, not being able, to, you know, get paid for the work they do. So, you know, here we are. We have so many reasons to be pissed off right now. And yet, how can we choose love in the face of it? How can we stand in our anger when it's righteous and justified? How can we stand for what we believe in, but also not forget? You know, I think Martin Luther King also said, love is the only force great enough to turn an enemy into a friend. That's so moving, right? It's like, and it's so true. It's like, even the person on the opposite side of the political spectrum from you, who might be your dad, you know, or your brother or sister, you still have those moments where you can connect through love, even if you have no idea why they could possibly think the way they do, you know? So I'm not saying everyone should go bury the hatchet with this eclipse if somebody is doing something egregiously wrong. But, you know, here we are, you know, just with what do we do? Where do we go from here? You know, with all this that has been churned up over the last 2 years. And I think it's so, this eclipse series has brought such an important awakening, right? I mean, and so many new leaders stepping forward too. You know, the 116th Congress in the United States has more women and more diverse representation than ever. And so that is, you know, sometimes you have to see a shadow, right? As the eclipses reveal in order for change to happen. And I think we've seen some really big shadows over the last couple years. And now we can move into that kind of adulting energy of the Cancer mother and the Capricorn father to put this shit back together again, right? Because the rebellious teenage Aquarius energy and the pompous Leo energy, not saying you're like that if you're a Leo or Aquarius, that's just the shadow of your sign. Don't get mad at me. We all have ours. I'm a Sagittarius. I can talk about my sign for days, but you know, every sign has its pros and cons. And so, you know, this is a moment in time where there need to be more adults in the room, I would say. So I'm going to go through sign by sign and tell you a little bit about how this might affect you. I also want to say one more thing. There are, you know, around what's happening around the eclipse in the skies is also interesting. So on Monday, Mars, which is the planet of anger and war and action and aggression, will be squaring at a 90-degree, this kind of head-butting energy, to Saturn, which is the adulting planet, the planet of wisdom, maturity, restraint. And that also kind of is going to exemplify that. Like, you may have this moment where you're like, I need to do something. I need to make a move. I need to do something now. Well, take a breath. Take note of what that is, because, yeah, you might need to do something, but do not act rashly. Throughout next week, Jupiter, which is also kind of this leap before you look, risk taker, is going to be like working together with Venus and Mars. So in love and romance and creativity, it is a good week next week after the eclipse to take some a creative risk, a creative dare for yourself, or a romantic one, but really make sure you've thought it through at least for 24 hours. You know, maybe let the sort of the sparkle of the eclipse die down a little bit. Okay. But it's, you know, you're going to feel pretty impulsive next week, but acting on those impulses is not always the best move. Just note them, clock them, and say, I need to do something here. And maybe your first instinct is the right one, but the first way action needs to be thought through. Yes, you will get those, you know, inner pop-up notifications that something needs to change. Just, you know, think it through. Think it through. Don't let your shadow take command, okay? Romantically, also, Sunday night could be really good. Who do you want to have over for that eclipse viewing party? You know, might not be the only wolf howling in town. That's all I have to say. Okay, so I'm going to go through fire, earth, air, and water. So I'm going to start with the water signs because Pisces always has to be last, and it's just not fair. So Pisces, I've got you, all right? You do not have to be last and wait for everyone. But I'm going to start with Cancer, the first water sign, okay? So this is where you might see some shadows or some hidden opportunities that you want to jump on, okay? So for Cancers, you may land some real success after 2 years of hustling, maybe a glamorous opportunity, a glamorous client. These eclipses are activating your money zone. So you may finally know that it's time to invest in something, quit a job, start a job, change something about your job. No one's going to be that surprised by what happens because, again, this is the last eclipse in a 2-year series that began on February 10th, 2017. So this has been brewing in the background. But, you know, there's still be a little bit of a surprise, but it's not going to be like, oh my God, shocker, you know. The July 13th Cancer eclipse for you Cancers probably last summer may have brought some the summer may have brought some unexpected things that you had to deal with quickly, though. Scorpio, for you, these eclipses have been on your career versus your home axis. So really leveling up at your job or getting noticed for a high profile position, or figuring out how to balance home and career. Maybe you want to start a home office up, or maybe you want to start a side hustle from home. Working with women is also favored, or somehow bringing more heart and meaning into the work that you do. Pisces, for you, these eclipses are in your health and wellness houses, also your Marie Kondo release. So you may get a wellness reboot. Maybe some ongoing health stuff will finally sort itself out, or you'll be able, you're going to be like, I'm so sick of these, you know, routines that are just sucking the life out of me. You may also leave a toxic job, or make some long overdue changes around work, or, you know, decide to mentor someone, or really kind of feel, for some Pisces, it might be that you finally feel a sense of resolution around the work that you're doing, and maybe need to balance it out so that you have a better, you know, self-care groove for yourself. There could be some interesting news about an employee. Maybe you'll hire an assistant, or find out that that coworker that you can't stand is, you know, leaving the company. Let us hope. Okay. Now, fire signs. Someone's asking, does the eclipse affect you through your sun only? You can also listen for your rising sign as well for this eclipse if you want. But I'm basing these on sun sign horoscopes. So yeah. Also, we're getting questions. How about relationships? Hang on, we're going to get to the Sagittarians in a moment. We're going to go through the fire signs. So you're next up. So Aries, the first of the fire signs, could have a romantic milestone, a burst of fame, or epic creative inspiration. So you probably want to stay up late and really get some divine downloads from these moonbeams. You might also decide and realize that a group that you're a part of isn't fully appreciating your talents. But instead of going into victim mode about it, check in with yourself. Make sure that you are actually, you know, letting them know. Don't wait for people to come and ask you what's up. You know, like maybe you need to do a little more strategic promotion for yourself. Let people know what you're capable of, or even offer things up to the group. Be a little more of a team player while also letting yourself shine. But yeah, it could be for some Aries, like a pregnancy and engagement that could be coming within a couple of weeks of this eclipse. You may decide to really go all in with someone you've just been flirting with on Tinder, you know? So who knows? Leo, this is really a big deal. This is like kind of manifestation of 2 years of hard work and efforts and putting yourself out there and promoting. If you've been doing that work, Leo, you're going to reap the rewards. Definitely, like, you may get some really good news about a project that you're passionate about, you know, something really major may shift. You might move. You just might really be ready to step out and change your life in ways that you know you've needed to for a while. So make sure that you do that even if it means a bold leap out of the comfort zone that you know has been a long time coming. Now, Sagittarius, for you, this one could bring a real long distance opportunity. So someone asked about love. It could be a long distance relationship or traveling with a partner, or you may start an entrepreneurial venture. Your partner may be involved in that because this eclipse was hitting your third house of partnership in your solar chart and your ninth house of long distance adventure. So in some ways, there's likely to be one other person involved in the excitement of this eclipse for you, Sagittarius, whether it's a sibling. I'm hoping that's a good thing for me and my sister Ophi, my fellow Astro twin. We're Sagittarians. But this is you've kind of, over the last 5 years, there was a lot going on for Sagittarians, especially the last 3 years. I was like kind of cramping your style, cramping your risk-taking style. But your ruling planet Jupiter, since November 8th of 2018 and all the way until December 2nd of 2019, is in Sagittarius. So that ability to like swing out and take a risk and carpe diem is back for Sagittarius, and you may feel it again. Like I myself am starting to feel a little more like my old daring self again, and it's kind of nice, I gotta say. Saturn made us a little boring for a while there, but that can never last. Now, for Earth signs, starting with Taurus, this eclipse has been is going to affect your home sector. So it may be that you finally get resolution with a relative you've had a choppy thing with, or upgrade something in your house, buy property, make a big decision about where you live or where you'll live next. It could also be that you set up a home office like the Scorpios, or if you've been working too much from home, you need to get out there more. Your Aquarius governs career for you. So it's kind of like family, home time, career time, like finding your way with both of those things. A lot of changes at home base or with work that you've had to navigate, and kind of unexpected at times. So, the Virgos out there, this one's all about kind of letting go and forgiveness, doing that spiritual healing and, really surrendering. Because, sometimes Virgos, you have your master plan and your 10-year plan, and you think everything should go according to it. But the universe has other surprises in store. Maybe you swore off dating and all of a sudden you met the one and you're like, well, I told myself I wouldn't date anyone until 2020. Well, cut it out, Virgo. Sometimes the universe knows what's best for you, okay? So, of course, that doesn't mean you should throw, common sense out the window. But it's like, how do you balance that need for control and regimented routines with like this like romantic sense of surrender and escape? You might actually want to schedule a cool beach vacation with someone you really adore, whether it's a relative or a romantic partner. Just do something like to foster creativity again, and really kind of open up your soul to things. So maybe really getting serious with the meditation practice. But even, this is an eclipse. You don't need to sit there on a pillow. Find a meditation retreat and figure out a way to get there. Maybe you do a work study to pay for part of it. If anyone could charm their way into that kind of an agreement, it's a Virgo. So don't tell me that you can't afford it, because when you're a Virgo, where there's words and a will, there's a way. Because you Virgos are not boring. I don't know where that rumor got circulated, but is so untrue. Virgos are the least boring people I know. Capricorn, for you, this is a sexy eclipse, and it could really cement a soulful sexual bond for you. And you could make a promising long-term investment, or really like commit to somebody who, really want, have been thinking about, but kind of on the fence about, but They keep proving themselves to you. So whether even a business partner, it could be. So shared finances and sexual energy, sexual chemistry. This is true for the Cancers out there too. You may, Cancers and Capricorns both, kind of have their guard up and they don't invest in anything unless it has long-term potential. But, sometimes you can't get to that long-term potential until you have to go through the getting to know you process too. So, let down some of that steely guard and control, Capricorn, and just try to have a little more, sensuality in those, a little flirty exchange could get you everywhere over the next couple weeks. People are asking in the comments about, is this a bad time to get together with an ex? A lot of times we talk about that during a Mercury retrograde or a retrograde period. And this is a different thing. Eclipses reveal shadows. If you are thinking about getting back together with an ex, this is for all 12 signs. Ask yourself why, because sometimes we have our reasons that are hidden from even us as to why we want to invite that energy back in. Did that the people who are the worst for us often are the sexiest ones. Let's be honest. Maybe it's my 4 planets in Scorpio talking, but the people who are like the worst and the most taboo, and this is kind of confirmed by, researchers. If you want to read Esther Perel's Mating in Captivity, a great book on the subject, the taboo is the tantalizing. So maybe you want to reconnect to that sexy badass within yourself that this ex brought out, hey, let's face it, marriage, long-term relationships, after a while, you're probably not gonna, throw each other up against the wall and rip each other's clothes off, but what do? You want to be loyal to your partner. You want to be committed. So how do you get that unga bunga rar and very Leo passionate energy? Maybe you need to go dancing, sing, do karaoke, get a massage, do something edgy or whatever, create an agreement with your partner, and maybe you can have it all. I don't know. It's different for everybody, but going to hang out with an ex is usually the people who are asking that are the ones who already know that the answer is no, you should not go connect with an ex. I'm going to go on a soapbox here. Sorry. But, if you were asking that, a wise woman once said to me, advice is what people ask for when they already know the answer, but they just don't want to listen to it. Now, if that, I don't want to put myself out of business here as an advice giver, but figure out what part of you want to reconnect with that ex evoked in you, and try to find a different way of getting it for yourself. That's a much more creative and interesting challenge than screwing up your whole life, with a sad bastard. That's all I gotta say. Anyways, where was I? The last but not least, the air signs before we wrap this up today. Geminis, for you, this may bring success for a tag team effort. These eclipses are, this one is hitting your 3rd house, which has similar qualities to your sign. So you may feel really in your element. There may be somebody that you've been collaborating with kind of on and off, or you feel like you have a good chemistry or vibe, not necessarily in a sexual way, more as kind of creative partners. It might be your romantic partner though, but make something more official together, like put it in writing, ink a deal, come up with something, commit to something long-term. It might also bring some real fun opportunities close to home. You may get involved, like if you don't like where you're living, Gemini, this eclipse may kind of spur you to start a neighborhood hunt. If you've known for a while that like, oh my God, my neighbors don't get me. I feel like the crazy person in the neighborhood. I want to be around people like me. Just start that search and get that U-Haul, because life is too short to, feel that way. It's, it's not worth it. The sense of belonging, or a lack of sense of belonging, can, we are still, tribal creatures. We need our herd, we need our pack. It doesn't mean we have to say, oh my God, these are the only people I can be around, but we all need a place where we belong. And maybe it's online, it's a virtual community for a lot of Geminis out there too, so, but yeah, if you don't love your neighborhood, this eclipse could really do something about it over the month that follows. Libra, you could really be, get lucky in the virtual realm with this eclipse. You may also, for all the air signs, but for Libras, it's more about finding a group of people that embraces you, or launching a digital venture, maybe getting going on your YouTube channel, becoming a style blogger, putting an ebook out there, self-publishing, it's the digital landscape is really rich for Libras with this eclipse. And actually a lucky romantic swipe for you if you're single, or if you're coupled, maybe you find a group, it's time to get your mutual friend group going for you and your partner, so that you can have a place outside of the house to enjoy each other's company. Last but not least, Aquarius. For you, it's about powerful partnerships, becoming really serious. Could also be a make it or break it moment if you're in a rocky relationship. But, you are free-spirited, it's true, but you're really going to want to know where you stand with people in your life at this eclipse. You're going to want to know, what is this we're doing here, or maybe you need to rewrite some of the rules of your relationship. But, you can be very experimental, willing to be cool and open and non-committal, but you may find that just doesn't work for you with some people, or, the handshake deals maybe need to be put in a contract with a lawyer. So don't be too chill about everything, okay? Oh my God, Taylor, one of my favorite Aquarians, who I was even visualizing when I was talking about your sign. And there you are, popping up in the feed. I love it. Actually, I can't quite tell the order that things are coming in from Facebook, but yeah, it's all right. Well, that's a lot of eclipse info for all of us. And again, no matter how hard you try to predict what an eclipse is going to bring, there's always going to be some element of surprise. And that's, we spend our lives trying to, no surprises. I don't want the rug pulled out from under me. But that's sometimes how we wind up stuck and small. So I invite everybody to really open yourself up to, whatever new and creative and romantic energy this eclipse might be bringing in, which might start out by some things having to fall apart before they can rebuild, or finding out some really difficult or troubling information that you need to sort out. And that doesn't mean you have to abandon people. Sometimes, it's finding out the truth about someone can actually, if you're both committed to each other, it can bring you closer. So that's enough, just know that you are supported by the universe, that there's always something waiting around the corner for you to help you and assist you if you just stay open to it. So hopefully you'll have only pleasant surprises, but I just always like to put that disclaimer in, because sometimes an eclipse is here to shake shit up, because it's been stuck and stagnant and it feels like the worst thing in the world. But it's actually one of those things where you look back and you go, you know what? If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have done X, Y, Z. So thank goodness it did. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And you can find out more about the eclipse on our website, astrostyle.com. And I would be remiss if I did not mention, many of you already have, our 2019 planetary planner. This baby has, horoscopes for all 12 signs for the entire year, all the important hotspot dates. And if you order yours on galaxy.astrostyle.com, you get a full moon and new moon ritual guide, as well as a numerology guide for the year. So I'll show it to Instagram. There it comes. So galaxy.astrostyle.com. We spend all year writing this, and you can get this one for all 12 signs, or you can get the individual sign planner. So this one is the Aries, with beautiful new artwork from the Grand Dame UK. Oh, Emma, hi. I just love seeing everybody on here who I've talked to in various capacities and known. It's so awesome. Social media. I'm sorry. I'm an addict. My 11th house sun. So this is the single side one, and it's much more portable. So I think the other one is a coffee table book. But this one you can carry around and check your hotspot dates and write journal notes about it as you go. Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in and for if you've purchased the book as well, thank you for that. Also, please subscribe to us on YouTube at AstroTwin, youtube.com. We'll put the link in /C/AstroTwins-TV because we are actually going to, on January 30th, you can start your month with us. We're going to be using the planner as a guide and taking you through all of the important dates for February that you need to know. So you kind of get a live monthly horoscope, and it's free. And I'll be with my sister Ophi then. So get 2 twins for the price of 1. All right. Happy eclipse, everyone. And thanks for being here with me. I will see you soon. Bye.